5 weeks. 2 days.
I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I thought it was delightful. What did you think about it?
Oh, man, I loved it. It was a great film. That sounds sarcastic, but no, really.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds really sarcastic the way you opened with that.
No, I actually did. I really, really, really liked it. It's definitely my favorite movie I've seen this year.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to think about it because I was scared it was gonna be too like quirky, like like ha 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 ha, like bagels, random, and then I was very like happy when it wasn't, but it's like it has like the perfect balance of humor and like it keeps the jokes going, but also being very like personal and meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, and the whole raccoon thing was just killing me the entire time.
Oh my god!
Like that,
yeah,
that ongoing gag
that
they just committed to so hard.
Well, the one thing I loved about it was during the movie, I was like, "What the hell? That song that they're playing in the raccoon parts, it sounds like fucking Randy Newman." And, and if you don't know, Randy Newman is the guy who did the "You've Got a Friend in Me" song for Toy Story. And it was actually Randy Newman.
Oh,
they actually got Randy
him.
Newman to do a song for that raccoon stuff. And I was like, that is so perfect.
That's awesome.
I think he even voiced the raccoon. I think that was him.
Yeah, he doesn't talk much, but...
Yeah, he did a few lines in there. I was like, that fucking sounds like Randy Newman. And it literally, he uses all the cliches from all the songs he's done for Disney, like in that one song. And it works so well.
That's great. I didn't know that. That makes it even better.
I know. I heard that and I was like, dude, if that is Randy Newman, I'm gonna flip my shit. And after the movie, I looked up the soundtrack and it was. Yeah, it was a really great movie.
I know a lot of people, and I think this is so fucking dumb, but people are of course comparing it to like Marvel because Marvel's doing their multiverse right now.
Oh god. Yeah.
And honestly, it makes I think a perfectly good example of how to do a multiverse story, which is this, and then how not to do one, which is Marvel. Because Marvel doesn't give a shit, the multiverse only exists just to connect their movies and give them reasons to make more movies and shows.
Yeah.
Where they're actually taking the concept, they're like, let's actually flesh it out, let's actually create rules, rules that like are followed throughout, that make sense and are logical, so the audience knows what the fuck is going on. Because I wasn't sure if this movie, whenever there's different universes, I'm expecting it's gonna be like pretentiously confusing. But it wasn't at all.
No, it's confusing at first, and but especially when they're just doing random shit. At first, it's like, oh, okay, I don't really know what's going on. This is not that funny. But then there's a reason for why they're doing random shit. They explain later, and and I was like, oh, okay, I buy this. And then the humor started to really hit after that for some reason for me, and I started to really enjoy it.
Yeah, I already thought it was funny going on, and honestly the beginning kind of reminded me of a Safdie brother movie because there's so much going on in the laundromat.
Yeah, and it's very stuff. It feels like anxiety building is going on, which is very and Safdie brothers.
I love Michelle Oh so much. She's great, and I like that they picked someone like her to be the main character. And even, did you know that the husband is Short Round?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that.
Yeah,
and he hasn't been in an acting role in so long, and he just comes into this, and he's
so good in it.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
I was tearing up.
Yeah.
At the end.
Oh, I was too. I was tearing up at there were multiple points near the end of the movie where it was really hitting me. It was good.
Jamie Lee Curtis is awesome as well.
Yeah, I give her huge props. She's basically a side character in it. But and she's such a huge movie star, you'd think that she'd only sign on for stuff where she's the main focus, but she was in the side. She was hilarious. She was really good. But they also let Michelle Oh have her space to be the main character, and yeah. It was good.
And I thought they were gonna do like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon scene at one point. Like I thought we were gonna get like a Michelle O universe. Because they were doing like that, like when they're like the bamboo forest or whatever.
Oh.
And then they were like kind of spoofing like the War Car Y films, like the 80s kind of Chinese like love movies, like when when they're in like that rainy dark alley.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Talking to her husband. Yeah, that's like something straight out of like In the Mood for Love. It's awesome though. I knew like I was gonna like it going in, but I didn't expect to like it that much.
Yeah, it was
because
it was good.
Because like actually like I don't know if it still holds that, but last time I checked, like on Letterboxd, it became like the top 3 highest like reviewed movie of all time
on the whole site of all time.
Yeah,
wow.
like it beat. I don't know if it beat Parasite or something, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like this movie just like this A24 movie just came out of nowhere. And I know they were like hyping it up because I've been seeing this marketed like crazy. And I'm just glad it actually was lived up to the hype and even more.
Oh yeah, like I was gonna say, like, how people always say, like, they're always like asking like, oh, where are like the Back to the Futures or like the Star Wars of this generation? Because there really isn't anything like that. Where like you're like kind of like introduced to like a whole new world, like there's like some kind of like cool concept within it, and just like a good like kind of feel good movie. This is that. This is about as close as we're gonna get to that type of thing. Like
I can see this being very not even like cult classic. Like I can feel it. I feel like once this, after its theatrical run, and it is thrown on whatever streaming service they decide to throw it on, I feel like it is gonna blow up in popularity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like everyone's gonna be talking about it.
Everyone should be talking about it. This is like
you're gonna be working, and like the 40-year-old Susan next to you is gonna be like, I watched this movie. It was kind of weird, but I liked it.
I felt bad for some of the people in my theater because I feel like a lot of them weren't liking it. Because remember, there's that one part in it when the credits start rolling, like
the person next to us just got up.
Yeah.
Then they were like, oh, okay.
That was what happened with me. Somebody, like a couple people in front of me, started like putting their chairs back in like the upright position, and I was like, "Oh no, guys, the movie's not over. It's not gonna end with her dying."
Yeah, and I was like thinking logically. I'm like, the movie was like 2 hours and like 20 something minutes, and I'm like, we're maybe like an hour and a half in. Like, yeah. I just hope this. I feel like this movie will get success. I hope they don't make a sequel. I feel like this is fine, and I don't want any more. But like I want to just savor its originality.
Yeah,
because that was my biggest thing, was like having a theater experience where I was actually watching something original.
Right.
And I know I rant on about how all blockbusters are the same, but like this movie probably cost half of what it takes to make whatever the fucking Fast and Furious takes to make. And it's way more exciting. It's way better looking.
Yeah.
It's way more engaging.
And it's really well edited too. I just want to point out the editing is amazing.
It just doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's constant.
It just keeps going. And then it knows perfectly when to just like pause. And be like really like soft.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't feel out of place, which is awesome.
I was thinking to myself, this is probably a movie that's going to get snubbed next year at the Oscars.
Oh yeah,
there's always that one. Because what always pisses me off is like there's a well edited movie like this, which is like one of the most well edited things I've seen in a long time, and then like they'll nominate something like Don't Look Up for best editing.
Yeah,
which is like such a
like, what did that do?
Yeah, that's such like a mediocre movie. I don't know.
Yeah, but, I don't know. Anyway. I only hope good things come of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that we spent an hour sucking off the Daniels, now we can talk about Robert Eggers, and we can suck him off the rest of this episode, because I think we both love Robert Eggers. I was thinking before this, it'd be funny if like I just said Robert Eggers the whole time.
Eggers?
On purpose. Eggers, like an A. Wait, egg. Yeah, it's egg. Now I'm convinced myself that it's Eggers. Yeah, just to piss people off. And then I just picture him as like a little egg, and he's got like the beard, and he's like, "Oh, I'm filming The Witch. I'm an egg."
What the fuck?
This is what goes through my brain.
You know what? That's better than my thoughts. It's just emptiness up here 90% of the time.
Darkness
and emptiness and self-loathing.
Oh. Well, that's why you have these movies to watch, to make you forget about that.
Exactly. Yeah, to drown myself in other worlds.
So for this episode, we're getting ready for the Northman. We're both excited. It's my most anticipated movie of the year. I remember when they announced that Eggers was doing a Viking movie, I just knew, I was like, that's going to be super badass. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't even care what it's about. It's going to be awesome.
It's not quite my most anticipated movie, but
really, okay.
I like, if I saw this movie and I didn't know it was Robert Eggers, I would not want to watch it, just because I don't like Vikings. I don't even like the medieval I don't like the medieval setting in general. Like anything like that, I don't know. I just don't really have much of a connection to it.
See, I like it if it's done more realistic, like that one Netflix movie with Timothée Chalamet, The King. Like, that's cool. I haven't seen that. That is brutal. It's just like people don't realize how like clunky armor is and how much you can't move.
Right.
So that is seriously just like 100 dudes just clashing up against each other, just trying to move their arm enough to swing a weapon. And like most of the time it's just them trying to get a dagger up into the either like the mouthpiece of the helmet or under like by the neck, and it's pretty brutal.
Oh wow.
But I'm indifferent towards those types of movies. I definitely don't really care so much about Viking stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's cool. Mm-hmm. But I'm not like, well, I'm going to watch the Vikings on the History Channel. You know, it's my favorite show. You know? Yeah. Now they're making like 3 different spin-off shows of that. I don't know. I'd be more into it with more like realistic Viking stuff, which I assume this is going to be. But it looks like this has almost like a mythological element to it.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I feel like there's no balance. I feel like you have a really gritty, realistic one, or you just have crazy like Nordic mythology Viking movie, and I don't think there's like a good mix. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is it.
Yeah, I was gonna say this seems like I've only seen like 1 or 2 trailers for it, but it seems like there are like super gritty stuff in it, but also it seems like there's like the more fantastical mythological.
I mean, there's a part where he catches like a fucking spear out of the air and throws it back.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think this movie is just going to be how badass can we make Skarsgård, and I'm okay with it.
Sure, I'm cool with that.
So, yeah, so in preparation, we watched his other films. I was going to say his filmography, but it's like 2 movies.
Yeah.
But you showed me his short film, which I hadn't seen before, which is Hansel and Gretel. And I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was solid.
It shocked me that it wasn't anything different than the original Hansel and Gretel story.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was expecting there to be a twist somewhere that would make it different than what we knew. But it was pretty much that exact story. It
was like beat for beat. And it was shot like a silent film from the 20s.
Right.
Which was cool, which I think helps because child actors suck. And I don't want to hear them talk. I don't want to hear any child talk. You know?
Sure.
So it's nice when they you see their lips moving and then you just get the text.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I thought this was cool.
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see.
It was well made. And it's interesting that like, between like this was made in like 2006 and The Witch was like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can kind of see like his style throughout it.
Yeah.
But I mean like I was impressed by the candy house they made.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. And I don't know if they made that themselves or if they just added on to a house that was already there.
I just thought it was going to be like the front, like it's just kind of like a flat thing.
Oh.
And then when they go, that's what I thought it was going to be like. But then there was actually, they went around the side. I'm like, oh, that's like a building. So I wonder if they did just get like a shed.
Yeah.
And then just, because it's not like big, but it looks like kind of TARDIS-y where it's like going to be bigger on the inside than the out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the way, because it's very obviously very inspired by stuff like Nosferatu. I got like a lot of that vibes from it, with its like use of like the dark spaces and all that. But it reminded me just aesthetically of that Begotten movie I told you about.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, especially like when it kind of gets to like the witch. But I'll admit I'm not well versed in horror movies from the 20s. So I'm sure there's probably like 100 other movies people would go like, actually, this movie is the same, but I don't give a shit because I'm not a nerd.
But we know enough to recognize those kind of like cliches and like visual stuff that he's doing with it, And you
can tell he just has a love for that like time period.
Yeah, it definitely
of
feels
film.
like that, especially when you take the Lighthouse into account as well.
Yes. Yeah, the Lighthouse is definitely, you can tell he just wants to make a movie from a time period where he is not from. Yeah, so I guess we can move on to The Witch now, which
The
Witch is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It actually kind of like inspired my love for horror movies. Because it was like around that time I was just getting into movies, like more than just like an entertainment like option. Like I was actually starting to be like, oh, okay, maybe this is art, but I remember I watched it and I was like, holy shit, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, it's not traditional in any way whatsoever. I feel like it's a horror movie, but it's not like for scares. And I think that's why it did so bad in the box office when it came out. It was like the best, worst reviewed horror movie ever.
Yeah, it's one of those where you look on the Rotten Tomatoes and the critic score is super high, but the audience score is super low.
And it's mostly because people are like, I can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do have to watch The Witch with subtitles, especially because they're actually using like Old English.
Yeah, that's my issue with it too, especially the dad character. It's really hard to understand what he says sometimes.
But I mean, I just appreciate though that he is willing to commit that much to the time period, because I think it does enhance it. It's not like these other like Netflix time period movies where they're like using words like woke and then using Shakespearean terms in the same sentence.
God. I haven't experienced that, but I'm sure that happens with something out there.
It probably, but just stuff like they don't really know. They're just like, they say they thought art thou a lot, right? They say thy. Yeah, okay, let's just throw that in. So, but I feel like Eggers really like, well, I mean, he even used like journals from like people that were allegedly like, dealt with witches and stuff. So he actually like used things they said in the movie were from journals from that time period that he just took and gave them.
Yeah, I even think of the title of the movie, because everyone says it's called The Vivitch. Which I guess is actually, if you saw the word witch written like that from that time period, like a lot of, like throughout reading all that kind of stuff. So that's where that comes from, I guess.
It was something I was reading with a printing press. For W's, they use 2 V's.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if it was cheaper to just use 2 V's than make a W. Yeah. But, yeah. So, yeah, I like that they even commit that much to it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And just the child actors are also insane.
Yeah, I was going to mention that with the short film, because I feel like even in that, they were still really good. And in this,
he knows how to direct kids.
Yeah. And like, he somehow is able to get the best performances out of like all of the actors in his movies in general. It's like, even the kids are like really good. Like,
those kids are fucking scary.
Yeah. They're
like
little shitheads.
When they're like, oh, I forgot my prayers. And I'm like, bullshit. Fuck you. Like, I remember when I first watched this movie, I was like, no, fuck these kids.
Yeah.
They're terrifying too. Something about those kids in like any time period thing, it's just them wearing little adult clothes. Creeps me out. You know?
And they act like little adults, basically.
Yeah, they do. Well, I mean, I get it, because back then it's like, you know, you gotta learn how to milk a cow at 5 or else you die of diarrhea. So like,
right,
you gotta grow up fast. But like, you know, they're in like their little suits. It's like, I don't even wear a tie now. You know? Yeah,
I very rarely ever do.
I never do. Even if an occasion has a tie, I'm like, fuck that. I'm not wearing a tie. But yeah, the child actors in this movie are great. And I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy is amazing, and I feel like this is what really put her like on the map.
Yeah, I think this is her first leading role in anything. It's kind of what she blew.
I looked
it
up. She only did some like foreign like period piece like movies, or like I think it was like some show, but she was just kind of like a side character. It wasn't anything leading. And I mean, look at her now. She's like the biggest thing right now. Like every movie like advertises that they have Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, I mean, she was in New Mutants. What a hit film.
Oh yeah, the movie that took like 5 fucking years to make because no one wanted to see it. They were like, is New Mutants ready? And they're like, yeah, who's gonna watch it? And they're like, oh, okay, hang on, let me ask, and we'll get back to you.
I still haven't seen that movie.
Oh god, it's on like every streaming service right now. It's like, no, I'm not.
Oh my god.
I love that like they were advertising it as like an edgy horror movie. Like Hot Topic was putting out New Mutants like merch.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
And I'm like, I mean, this didn't work out for Suicide Squad. You think it's gonna work out for you?
At least the design, like the logo of it, looks decent. That I can't say the same for Suicide Squad.
Dude, people still buy this shit out of that Suicide Squad merch from Hot Topic.
Yuck. Looks terrible.
They love Damaged.
It looks awful.
I wanna see like in The Witch, like when like Black Phillip's going crazy and then like the dad wakes up and he gets like Damaged tattooed on his forehead. And he does he does a Joker laugh.
I was gonna say that's Anya Taylor-Joy's like induction into the Witch Society with Black Phillip is she has to get like Damaged tattooed on her forehead, and like, they have to be thrown into a vat of chemicals.
Yeah, he's like, you must get the most embarrassing tattoo possible on your forehead. And she's like, so then I can fly, right? And he's like, yeah, you can fly. She's like, okay, cool. Sure. Yeah, this I love Black Phillip. Ever since I watched this, Black Phillip has become as white women on Instagram say, my spirit animal. I collect anything with goats, anything with black goats. I collect. I've been debating. I really want to get a Black Phillip tattoo, but that might kill my mother. So I'm weighing the pros and cons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love Black Phillip. Just the idea of him, and I just love the voice. It's so creepy.
At the end of the movie, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. When he's like, "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?" It's like they pop They pop everything that needs to be popped. It's so good.
Yeah,
and
it's really creepy.
I guess he actually broke that actor's ribs. Like, you know, when he like rams him against like the logs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were saying that goat they got was actually like the devil, because whenever they needed him, like, you know, hey, go dance. We need you to dance or do something. He would just like lay down and not move.
Oh my god!
And then anytime they literally just needed him to sit still, that's when he'd be running around and going crazy.
Yeah, you know, I noticed that watching, like, well, I had that thing in my head where, because recently Robert Eggers like said like, oh, he can't watch The Witch because he thinks like like sees like some amateurish filmmaking in it. So I had that in my head when I watched it this time, and I did notice that in the background, like, it's near the beginning when like the wife is like chewing out the husband. And like it's cutting back and forth between them as they talk, and every time it cuts back to the husband who has like all the goats behind him, the goats are in like completely different places.
Oh, okay.
Within like each cut, and it's like
continuity, Eggers.
Yeah, so
come on.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking of that. I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see what he means with that. But yeah, and then that makes sense if they couldn't make the goats like fucking stay in place.
Yeah, they're wild animals.
Yeah.
One thing though that I think why this movie works so well, and like I said, it doesn't rely traditionally on scares, but more there's just constantly from beginning to end just suspense, and just like there's just always a feel, just something bad's gonna happen, like throughout the entire thing. It is really like just a slow burn. It's like the most slowest burn of all slow burns. But like the soundtrack, it's got like the violins, and they'll like go crazy and then just like stop. And you're like, oh shit. And that's very similar. And I think the story is very similar to The Shining. You know, where you have this family, they become isolated. One of them goes crazy. They are turning against each other. There is some supernatural element, but you're not entirely sure what's real, what's their own like mania. And again, you have just like The Shining. Like The Shining soundtrack is just like nothing but these like crazy like fucking string instruments just going wild. You know, it's almost to the point where it's just like you can't distinguish anything, and it's just popping off. And it's very similar to this, and I think that's not that I'm saying The Witch obviously is not a Shining ripoff, but it takes a lot of elements from it and all like the good parts of The Shining.
Oh sure, yeah,
but just puts it into the context of like the witch trials, I guess. And it's not even really about like the witch trials. Like no one knows what the fuck is going on in this little plot of land.
Yeah, I guess you kind of get a little hint of that at the beginning when they're on that colony or whatever. But
yeah, there's a plantation.
But after that, it's just focused on this. The family's kind of like on their own. Yeah, it's just kind of focused on them.
And it is. They're in this situation because the father doesn't agree with the church, which is pretty noble of him, because the church probably wasn't doing the best things, you know, in line of the Bible or the gospel or whatever. And he's like, you know, fuck you. You know, you're not, that's not my Jesus, you know, I'm going to go. And they're like, fine, leave. You're not like welcome back. And it's almost like that. Obviously the pride is the reason why they're in that situation. You know, like he doesn't want to admit that he's wrong, that he, got land that's not good, that you can't crop. You know, the whole thing with him selling the wife's cup to make money, like just nothing goes right. You can't hunt, you know, obviously it's a pride thing. But I feel like he's also putting the stress on everyone else due to that religious element. And I know like everyone is fucking like religious at this time. Like everyone loves it, you know. But it's almost like they're more susceptible to the devil and all that stuff because of it, if that makes sense. rather than just saying, okay, you know, let's just sit here and think logically. They're just like, the fucking devil's in him. You know?
Yeah.
Which, it's true.
Yeah.
It was actually the devil.
It really was.
And it's not even like, oh, it's just like a demon, it's just some witch. Like, it is actually Satan.
Yeah, I got that idea too. It's definitely him.
Because that's the thing you write in his book. So I think it's a combination of obviously the male ego and their, I think, overcompetence of their Christianity has almost made this perfect like melting pot for Satan to pop up and just abuse the children.
Oh, okay.
You know, Black Phillip is a good guy. You know, it's one of those movies at the end where I'm like, yeah, good for her.
No, I actually was, I actually had the same idea, especially the second time watching it, where I was like, you know what? I agree with her. Go fly away, be happy, be free.
Yeah, fuck it. What's she gonna do? Just sit in that thing and die?
Yeah.
You know, her family tried to like sell her.
Yeah, that's fucked up. I mean, I guess that's what happened back then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty common. But they're like, oh, she's like what, 13 now? Time to sell her to some. Well, they just said like housework. At least it wasn't like, you know, to like some man, some like 50-year-old.
Some creepy guy. And that'd be a lot worse.
But, and I also, what I like about this movie is when you're like, oh, it's the witch. So you're like, okay, you know, is there a witch? Is there not a witch? And like 10 minutes in, we get a witch grinding up a baby, and you're like, okay, it's a fucking wich.
Yeah, there's
like there's a witch in this movie.
Yeah, there's no debate about whether or not there's a witch in the woods.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Because like I remember the first time watching, like, oh, I bet you that girl's gonna be a witch. I'm like, oh no, there's a hag. There's some old crone peeling a baby. Okay.
Yeah, it was weird for some reason. Like I've only seen this movie twice. I think once when I got
it rookie numbers.
Yeah, once I got it on Blu-ray, and then when I watched it recently. But I mean, it stuck with me since I watched it all the way back in 2015. That I felt like I haven't really needed to watch it, but watching it now is like it's a nice refresher. But anyway, I'm so surprised how much you actually see the witch in this movie. Like you just straight up see her face a lot of the time.
Yeah,
and what I remember,
it's not even,
I thought
hidden.
It was mostly like in shadow or like showing her from the back, like. But you just see her straight up in a lot of shots in it. I was really surprised.
And even
by
like
that.
when she gets the boy, you see her when she's all like beautiful, and then she like transforms.
Oh yeah.
But so like the whole time you're thinking, you're like, okay, there's a witch, you know. You don't expect that Satan is giving them milk, you know.
I think one of my favorite themes from this movie, which I think is kind of a theme of all of his movies so far, but I'm just referring to The Lighthouse and this, obviously, because those are the only two we've seen. But I feel like a lot of it is, especially this one more so, is the new age ideas conflicting with tradition.
Yeah.
And like religion. And I feel like that's a major conflict in this, because I feel like that's kind of what our main character, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, that's kind of what she's going through. Is she doesn't like act like you're supposed to as like a good like woman in
Christian,
this like Plymouth type society, and you know, and I feel like it obviously Satan does like kind of take advantage of her, Black Phillip, and like is like kind of manipulating her into coming into his side of things. But that's why I actually kind of like Black Phillip, is because I feel like it's almost her liberation at the end. Yeah, when like she gets to finally be more herself. She like flies to freedom. Yeah, exactly. And it seems like she's a lot happier that way. I mean, you can debate what was better for her, that or the staying with her parents and like living that life, but you know. I definitely like that theme. I
mean, Satan's not that bad of a guy, you know. He gets a bad rep.
I would rather hang out with Satan than God. I'd be 100% honest with you.
He has those cool cowboy boots. But yeah, even like the Lighthouse is very much like Rob, the young guy, and then Willem Dafoe being the old man. He's like, we got to do the seaman's tradition and all this stuff, and they butt heads a lot there.
Yeah.
I wonder if that'll carry over to the Northman.
I think it will. I'm just wondering with the Northman, for me, is like, how is this going to be interesting?
Yeah, it just seems like a revenge movie.
Yeah, that's my thing. A revenge Viking movie, okay?
Maybe like the new Vikings are like, guys, maybe we shouldn't rape and pillage all these people. And then our protagonist, Alexander Skarsgård's like, what now? Like, yeah. No, I'm gonna fuck every person in that village. Every woman, child, and elderly. I'm gonna fucking kill.
Oh, God. As revenge.
And they're like, it's revenge for what they did to my father. I'm gonna fuck this child for my father.
Oh, God.
All right. Time to segue into the Lighthouse.
Let's move on.
After that. The Lighthouse. I love it. Do you love it?
Yes, that's a check mark from me.
Oh, we got a check mark from Brad. I don't know what the check mark represents. Okay, recommendation.
Recommended, it says, and there's a box next to it. Check mark.
Oh.
Boom.
Checked.
Got
Red pen. So you know it's serious.
Exactly.
I remember how disappointed I wasn't able to see The Lighthouse in theaters because like no theater was showing it like around me.
Yeah.
And I remember people, it was so funny walking out of the theater to talk to like the staff because they were confused why it was shot that way.
Oh, with the aspect ratio?
Yeah, the aspect ratio. They thought it was broken. And now this one also, a reoccurring theme of Robert Eggers' movie, have to turn on subtitles. Gotta turn them on if you want to understand anything they're saying.
I actually this is the one I don't have problems with for the most part, understanding what they're saying. Yeah, I feel like they're both pretty concise with the words.
It's funny because there was an interview with Rob Pattinson. They were talking about like the accents and stuff, and they would like cut, and he's just like, Rob Eggers like, we're gonna do that again, and Rob's like, oh no, like could you not understand me? And he's like, no, I want to understand you less. He's like, give me a thicker accent. And he's like, okay.
That's really funny.
But what I mean, this movie, I think, is a lot of things. I think it's most commonly broken down as just cabin fever, which there is, but I think there's so many added layers on top of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of oversimplifying it when people say that.
I mean, it's definitely you don't know what's real and what's not. Like the witch, they tell you there's a witch, there is Satan. You know? I mean, there's still a lot of themes that go in there, but ultimately that's it. But with this, I mean, you've got, you know, they're in this lighthouse going mad. There's a mermaid, maybe. There's Octopus Man. There's something in the lighthouse. There's just all this stuff, and you never know what is actually there and what's them seeing it. And you never know from what perspective it's from, if it's Willem Dafoe character or Rob Pattinson's character.
Right.
But their chemistry in this is incredible.
Yeah, they're really, really good together.
And I mean, I love Willem Dafoe. These are like two of my favorite actors. And just Willem Dafoe is just so good at just being a crotchety like asshole that's likable. And he just wants to jerk off in his lighthouse.
Who can blame a guy?
Who can blame a guy?
With his tentacles.
Yeah. So I was reading about that this is somewhat loosely, and Eggers even admits it's very loosely based on some like Greek mythology. where Willem Dafoe is supposed to be, or you could read it as he is Proteus, which is the son of Poseidon, and he's known as the Old Man of the Sea.
Oh, okay.
And he's sort of like all-knowing, and he's stuck. I don't know if he's stuck or he just lives on this island.
Yeah.
There's like, I think it's the island of Pharos or something. And essentially he has like this all-knowing knowledge, and he can see into the future, and he knows like everything that's going to happen. And the only way you can get it is if you catch him. But he can shapeshift, so he can turn into anything he wants. But I guess his normal form is, remember when Rob gets him down and like you briefly see him covered in barnacles and he has like tentacle arms?
Yeah.
That is his like true form.
Oh, okay.
But he's
Weird.
able to shapeshift into whatever he needs. And in that same scene, he does shapeshift into a mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
So he's very difficult to capture.
Okay.
So you could interpret that when Rob eventually does dominate him, he's able to go up to the lighthouse and see whatever the fuck he sees. And then gets his inside pecked out by seagulls. And I think that is also in the story of the person who does catch him.
Prometheus, I think you're talking about.
Yeah, Prometheus, right? Yeah. He gets like his liver eaten by birds or plucked out. It was something like that, which is the final shot of the film.
I think his like torture is that he has to have his liver like eaten out every day, but every night it grows back only for it to get eaten again the next day. So he's like in this constant like cycle of torment because of him stealing the light from the gods and bringing it to the humans down below. Basically is what the Promethean myth is.
We weren't ready for that kind of knowledge, I guess.
No, I guess not. And that makes sense because, I mean, that's kind of what Robert Pattinson does. He goes up to the lighthouse and he doesn't really bring any knowledge to anybody, but
he just fucking dies.
Yeah, he just dies.
Similar, I think, in style of The Witch. It has that same thing where like the score really like builds up to tension, and then just drops, like just quiet. And you also have like, and they do this in The Witch a lot, where in The Witch he always has that shot of the forest. Oh, and ooh, something's in the forest. It's spooky. But it's just constantly they use that shot of the forest, and very similar to this, where they show like the full lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
And the lighthouse is very, I assume on purpose, very phallic shaped, you know?
Yeah. I actually read at one point in the shooting process, I guess it was left on the cutting room floor, but they were going to, I know what you're talking about, yeah. Is in that masturbating scene where Robert Pattinson is masturbating to the mermaid. They were going to like intercut with his dick and the lighthouse to like kind of like really drive home the phallic imagery of the lighthouse. Like, but then I guess Robert Eggers said one of the financiers of the film forced him to take it out. So he's like, oh, I gotta take it out. But
I mean, I want to see Rob's cock.
Hey, you know what? Who wouldn't?
Honestly, maybe it would have done better in the box office if that was the case. All these Twilight fans would be like, oh, wait, what are we going to see in this movie? What is that? But then it's just this like sweaty barnacle-covered man. Yeah. Like shoveling coal, just jerking off to a little wooden doll.
Really darkly lit, like crotch with a bunch of hair.
And he's like crying.
Yeah, he's crying. Oh God.
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, well, I was gonna kind of go back to what you were saying earlier about it being like people kind of boiling it down to a cabin fever type movie, and I feel like this intersects a lot of different genres. I feel like it's hard to nail it down, really.
I don't think you can put one genre on it.
No, it's like it's a character study first and foremost, but it has a lot of horror in it, and it's like a psychological thriller almost as well. It's like it's really weird, but I mean it's really good, and you never get like the idea that even with having all of those kind of genres like blended in, it's never doesn't feel non-cohesive. It feels like an interesting, like really well done like character study of this guy.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because they do lose track of time.
Yeah,
where they're like, have we been here 2 weeks, 2 months? And I think the dynamic between Rob and Willem is like, Rob, obviously, you know, his backstory was he was working in this logging thing and his boss was a real asshole, calling him a dog, and he kills him. Which you can tell the whole movie he is like working through that.
Yeah.
Like the idea that he killed a man. And he's almost like replacing that guy with Willem Dafoe's character, as well as looking for like a father figure.
Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe is not a good father figure.
No, not at all.
And also, this movie is very funny.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. There's so many moments in it that are just so funny.
And it's sometimes it's just so crude that it's funny, like Willem Dafoe just farting. And like the amount of like shit jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like when like Rob's like going out to empty like their bedpans and he like throws it, but the wind throws the shit right back in his face.
Oh my god, yeah.
And he just goes, ah! And then it just cuts away. And it's so funny.
It's great. Yeah. Another really good moment for me is probably my favorite comedy moment in the whole thing is where Rob is like, oh, if I had a steak, man, I would fuck it. And then Willem Dafoe was like, you don't like my cooking. Come on, you don't mean that. You say you like my cooking. And then he's like, no, I can't. I'm not going to say that. And then Willem Dafoe like curses him out and goes into this super long monologue.
Smites him.
Yeah. He's like smiting him, wishing like Poseidon came down and like stabbed him with his trident, basically. And then it just cuts to like this wide shot of Robert Pattinson just on the floor, like shocked at what he just witnessed. And he's like, okay, fine, you win. I like your cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fond of you, lobster. Okay.
Yeah. It's just so great.
And just how hurt Willem Dafoe is when he's like, you don't like me cooking?
Yeah, you genuinely feel really bad.
Yeah. There's another part, and I remember when this movie came out, I overused this term too much. When Rob says that Willem Dafoe smells like a curdled foreskin.
Oh god.
Rob is just laying into Willem, and he's just going on a tangent about everything wrong with this man. He's like, and the worst part, you smell a curdled foreskin.
Yeah. It's hysterical. Oh my god. Like the insults are so creative.
Yeah. It's like better than like, you know how like people love like the Shakespearean insults?
Yeah.
But no, sailor insults is where it's at.
It's a perfect amount of crass and like old-timey like English that like really makes it hilarious for me.
It's like the old English makes it feel proper.
Yeah.
When really it's just guys calling each other like stinky pieces of shit.
Man, yeah, it's so good. This is like before. I've only seen this movie twice. Once when I saw it when I got on a home release, and then once recently for rewatch. But man, I liked it a lot more the second time I watched it, and I
definitely got more watching it. And each time I watch it, you notice more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great movie, and I like viewing it as a character study of Robert Pattinson's character. Because it really is. It's like, because all of this could be in his head for all we know. Like even Willem Dafoe's character could be a figment of his imagination,
right?
Which I think he even mentions at one point.
And he even accuses Willem Dafoe of like killing the last assistant.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And you don't know how much of that is true.
Right. Because you see, but it's in like a montage, like a feverish montage.
Yeah.
Where he finds like some guy's head in like a fishing basket.
A lobster pot.
Yeah, a lobster pot. Yeah. So you don't know if it's actually real. And then Willem Dafoe is like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I didn't do that, basically. Like, after Robert admitted that he killed his boss to him. So yeah, it's weird. It's like you really never know what's real, what's not, and I think at the end of the day, it's like it's a character study. It really is a horror filled character study.
And I think it's better for not revealing everything. Like, it would be one thing at the end of the movie where they're like, oh, this like imagine like if they did like the typical thing they do in movies where like right before he dies, it goes to like a flashback of him pulling up the lobster pot and there's like no head in it.
Oh my God.
It's just like a crab or something. And then like, all this stuff, like he never like chopped up the boat or whatever and all that. Then that would be poopy.
Yeah.
But I like that it's almost like we're in the exact same headspace. Even on rewatches, you're still not sure what's real and what isn't. And I think that's just why people like just play it off as, oh, it's just cabin fever.
Yeah, that's kind of because like it's to the I think it doesn't even matter what's real or what's not. Like it literally does not matter.
It does not.
It's a character study, first and foremost, of Rob's character. And if you look at it that way, it makes sense creatively and everything, and it's just a great movie in general.
I agree. Now I'm gonna ask you the big question.
Okay.
Do you like The Witch better, or do you like The Lighthouse better?
Oh, that's a tough one. I almost want to say I like the Lighthouse better.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I'm a Lynch head. I'm a big David
we got a
Lynch
big
head.
Lynch guy here.
I love surreal stuff. I also love character studies, and I love Willem Dafoe, and I love Robert Pattinson. I think with all those things, and you have Robert Eggers writing and directing like a really good script, it's you can't beat it. Not that The Witch is like, it's like just barely better than The Witch for me. Like they're both really close, but like I have to give it to The Lighthouse.
I wanted to mention that part when Rob Pattinson eventually does get to the lighthouse.
Yeah.
And like the screen's like slowly getting more saturated and he starts screaming and it almost becomes like his scream is turning more like almost distorted. That felt very like Lynchy for me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh my God, is this like, of course, I mean, anytime someone makes a distorted scream, you could say that was like really David Lynch, but just like the way that like the editing there didn't really match the rest of the film in a good way. I'm not saying that's bad.
Yeah.
It just felt very like Lynchy, and I was like, oh, it like really makes you uncomfortable. It's some like Inland Empire shit.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe, especially with like the non-linear passage of time, where like all of a sudden you're like, oh, we don't even know how long he's been there. It's like it's only been a few days, but
oh my gosh,
it could have been weeks or.
Is the lighthouse the Red Room?
Oh my God!
Is it the Black Lodge?
You know, we've never seen
Willem
the Black
Dafoe
Lodge. One could interpret that this is the Black Lodge.
We could interpret. Join me on r/David Lynch, where I select very specific pieces of the background in the lighthouse and compare it to Twin Peaks, and tell you why you're stupid for not understanding that the lighthouse is part of Lynch's work.
I would love to do a David Lynch episode eventually. I think that would be so much fun.
We just talk for an hour about the Winky's diner scene from Mulholland Drive. I feel so guilty. I traumatized Carolina showing her that movie.
Oh, did it scar her?
Just that Winky's scene.
Oh, wow.
I can't even mention it.
Really?
She gets so upset.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, the dirty man is too scary. And I'm like, I know the dirty man is scary.
It's true. That scene is like, it's like your worst nightmare come to life. It's like
the most horrifying horror scene in a movie that's not even a horror movie.
I know. It's so weird. Well, we could go on now about David Lynch, but we won't.
Yeah, we should just do an episode where we just talk about David Lynch for 8 hours.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm hoping that he releases something in the next year or two.
No, he's retired.
I think it's, I don't know. I think he's got one more thing in him. I'm hoping he does.
I think he's got one more spunk he's got to get out.
One more 18-hour long season of the show. That's what I want, that from him. Force it from him.
Yeah, I mean, where'd that Wisteria money go?
Yeah.
But back to the subject on hand. All right, I'm gonna make you guess. What do you think I prefer, The Witch or The Lighthouse?
The Witch.
Yeah. Yeah. I love The Lighthouse, but The Witch is just a very personal film for me. And I love it so much. I love Black Phillip with all my heart. And mostly I just love Satan.
Yeah.
I mean, you know me, I like, I'm an edgelord, so I like any movies that kind of are about, religion. And not so much in a sense as like, ooh, Christianity bad, look at all the damage it caused, but just, I feel like this is like an honest look at it.
Oh, sure.
Of like a time period. And I think just this fear of evil, whether it's non-existent or is, I just absolutely love The Witch, and that's my Eggers pick. But we'll see when the Northman comes out. But I don't think the Northman. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be at the same level as The Witch and the Lighthouse.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Because I mean, like, I think you could say this about all of his movies so far, but the trailers are like, okay, I get this movie. I think I've seen this type of movie before.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look interesting from the trailers is what I'm trying to say. But when you actually
I'm hoping
watch
there's something different.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at how they marketed The Witch. The Witch, the trailer was like a straight up, like it almost looked like a Blumhouse horror movie or something.
Right. Yeah.
You know? And then that's why it did so bad, because people were like, what the fuck? What is this?
And the Lighthouse did even worse on the box office return when that came out. They pumped more money into that. I think The Witch only cost $4 million to make, and they got $40 million out of it. But the Lighthouse cost like $11 million to make, and they only got $18 million out of it. Which
I mean, the Lighthouse is definitely more niche.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as audiences go, but Robert Eggers, I think he's gonna break this with the Northman, but he's like the most successful, least successful horror director. Where like all of his movies are like praised, everyone loves them, but they just make absolutely no money.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I think that Robert Eggers again does not give a shit. No. You know, he's like, I just want to make a movie that I would be proud of, and I gravitate towards those more. Mm-hmm. Like you can tell in The Witch and the Lighthouse that he's giving 100%. Like there's not a frame that he did not like spend every detail planning out.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's everything about it seems really masterfully like crafted. Even the performances like somehow seem like perfect. Like everyone involved. And I think again, that's like that energy. Like when you know you're working with someone that genuinely is giving it 100%, you're gonna give it 100% as well. Right. Yeah. Because
you probably know on set, like you're making something really good.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he doesn't mess it all up with the Northman.
Yeah, he won't.
But
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, he won't. It'll be fine. I think at like the worst case scenario is I go out of that movie going, that was pretty great.
Yeah.
I think that's like literally the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Yeah, literally.
So, well, we're big eggheads. That's what we're gonna call them now.
We're the eggers. We're
eggheads. We're eggheads. Don't get us mad or we'll crack.
We stand the Lighthouse and the Witch.
We stand the Lighthouse. God, I wish I could fuck Willem Dafoe.
Oh shit.
Give me a Lighthouse fan cam of Willem Dafoe's ass as he's farting.
Oh fuck yeah.
Oh fuck.
I want to be in that Lighthouse room when he was masturbating, man. All that cum flying everywhere. Oh god.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall there.
You know, I would try to get a job shooting that scene just to ruin my career instantly when all of his cum is coming out and I'm just on the floor like lapping it up. You know. That's what I would do. I'll get kicked off immediately, but it'd be all worth it.
I'm just picturing a set. One in a world where Rob Pattinson is actually masturbating for the movie, and he actually comes, and then you're just the boom mic guy and immediately drop it and just dive onto set, just licking the floor. And Rob's like, oh gosh, what do I do? And then security pulls you off.
Oh man, yeah.
There's just cum oozing out of your mouth. I got it.
I love you, Rob, as I'm getting carried out of this room.
I'm gonna save these, Rob.
I'm not swallowing.
I'm not gonna swallow it. You're like a chipmunk, like their cheeks like blow up, but you're just saving Rob Pattinson's cum in your mouth.
Oh no!
You can never swallow.
Oh god.
Okay. Now that we just talked about cum for a minute, I think that's a good time to end the episode.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for listening. We love the Eggers. We're gonna go see the Northman. And probably next episode we'll probably talk about what we think of the Northman. So in the beginning. So yeah.
Sure.
Thanks for listening. Thank you for putting up with our talk about Rob Pattinson's cum. And we'll see you next time.